What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. We're going to recap these trades. All right, cool, fantastic. We're going to jump right into it. So typically I would do it on just one big screen, and that's normally how I'd have this video set up. But today I'm still watching AMD for a trade. So you can see it's here on this is AMD over here on this left screen. So I'm still watching this for a trade, and I didn't want to make this video and miss the potential trade on this while making it. So I'm going to put it on this chart so that if, in fact, by the time I get done making the video or in the process of making the video, if this sets up in the right formation, I might end up taking a trade on it. So we're going to break this down with the screen looking like so. So we'll review the trades I've already made on the day on this right screen here. So let me put on the trades for the day. So AMD, I did trade AMD once. I mean, it worked out. It was decent, you know. But didn't make too much. I mean, ideally, we had a very strong push up here on the day. So first things first, right? I go 2,000 shares long at 37.97, pushes up. I close out 1,500 shares at 38.07. So made about 10 cents almost on that trade there, on that sell. And then as it was coming back down and kind of getting weak and losing that bullish formation for the time being, I close out my last 500 shares of that trade, resulting in a profit of $112 on the stock. Okay. So now that we kind of covered that, really AMD was kind of moving up, right? We press up, we come down, we press up, we come down. And then this press really here was just very, very strong and very aggressive, and it got all the way over the highs on the day. So after I seen it break up and over the previous top right here, all right, we kind of squeeze all the way up. We get through that previous top, then we kind of pull back. We never quite test the breakout level. The breakout level is the red dotted line. Right, so we never actually test that level. We didn't, when I say test it, we kind of push up, then we pulled back. We never quite got there, but with the way it was holding up, I'm right, this is probably going to have some continuation. So I side hopping along 2,000 shares, and as it pushes up here, pulls back and squeezes again. That's where I take off most of my shares on that top candle. And then, of course, right, as the day progresses a little bit, we're kind of doing this thing. We kind of come up, and then we roll down, and then we spike up, and then we kind of come down, and we roll down, and we spike up again, pull back, spike down, then we kind of roll down, roll down. So most of the rolling action was going to the downside. And that's a tip for you guys. When you guys are looking at a potential bullish pennant or just a pennant pattern, and you're watching the stock trade in between and you're kind of like on the fence of whether it's going to go up or go down, a good tip that doesn't always work perfect, but a good way to get an understanding of which direction it's probably going to break in that pennant can be identified by looking at how it's trading. So if we look at this, right, look at the moves, U down, then we kind of, that one's probably we shouldn't even include, but let's just do it from here. Ready? U. They're U-shaping down, right? And they're just peaking up. Okay, so you have peaks to the upside and rolls to the downside. So a lot of times in a formation that we've seen earlier with AMD, right? If this were going to break out like here, all right? So let's do it like that, right? Some people definitely got caught in this, right? They're kind of watching and think it would go like this and then break out to the upside. Right, but it actually kind of rolls down and cracks, and that's where I started taking the trade-off as it went lower, knowing that in that time frame, that immediate moment, that the bullishness was lost for the stock on this drop. Sure, it can come back later in the day, which I'm now watching it again, but in that moment in time, this time frame, the bullishness had been lost when we started to crack here, and that's why I started taking that trade-off. Okay, but as I was mentioning, in like a bullish pennant kind of formation, always track and see which way you're getting U-shaping. If it's going to the downside like that, there's a good chance it's not going to break out, at least then. But if you're into a pennant and the formation is going like this, where you're U-shaping up, then there's a good chance, right, you're going to break out, right? So look at the difference there. Let me draw them out. All right, remember this difference. So stock moves up, does something, puts in a high, then it pulls back, and it does like U-shaping like this. There's a better chance it's going to break out of that pennant. Whereas if you have a stock that moves up, does something, puts in a high, pulls back, and then it starts to do like this, spike up, roll down, spike up, roll down. If it's forming in the pennant like that, you're most likely not going to get an efficient breakout, or the breakout's not going to happen. So remember that. So anyways, we get a profit of 112 on AMD there today. All right, we did trade Netflix once. Made $116 trading Netflix. Here's a perfect example of a U-shaping upwards bullish pennant, right? So as we just taught like a second ago, we come and look at Netflix, and Netflix was doing just that, right? So you look at the bullish pennant kind of formation. What do we see? Move up of a U-shape up, and kind of another one, a little awkward, more of like a V, but right, more of a cupping up, right? You still have a U-shape down, and that's the other thing, is it could get a little confusing. You have to, I mean, it takes practice to learn it, right? But you kind of got a U-shape up here, and then there's also a U-shape kind of down that direction. But primarily, it's kind of cupping up, right? So we had the breakout there. So we ended up trading that. Took 300 shares on it. Pretty much bought right at the breakout level. At about, like, what is it? Got in at 287.35, so just over. So by the time I got filled, it was right here, 287. Wow, really? Yeah, I guess it did kind of start breaking out already. So I was pretty much buying the high a day break at that point. So I got in 300 shares, 287.35, pops up to 287.67 to take off 200 shares. Then as it pops up a little bit more, up to 288.20, I end up taking off 75 shares, hold 25 shares with a stop just below break even. It comes down, stops me out at 287.05. So ultimately, still a green trade, resulting in $116 there. Okay, we traded Disney. Disney was really just like a nonchalant trade for the hell of it today, which worked for a second. I could have made money on it ultimately, but I just held it. Didn't really matter. At the end of the day, it was such a small, pointless trade. Doesn't even matter. But anyways, we've seen Disney kind of get wrecked a couple times, right? You could see it get smacked, bounce, smacked, bounce. So it was naturally doing a pattern of getting smacked down and bouncing back up, smacked down and bouncing back up. So I'm like, sure, why not? This comes smacking down to the VWAP. I bought 100 shares. I was actually green about $30, $25. I could have took the whole position off there for a win, which I would normally do in a situation like this where it's just kind of like a scalp trade. But I let the positive news of Disney and the movement that we seen it have yesterday kind of affect the way I would normally have traded that little bounce scalp trade. I was like, well, you know what? I should just hold like 50 shares. You can see it bounce up. Right? I get 100 shares here at 149.32, bounces up. I take off 50 shares at 149.53. At that point, I made like $10 or something. If I would have closed out the full position, I would have made like $25. I'm like, man, whatever. It's 50 shares. I can't really lose that much money on 50 shares. And maybe it trends back up and does some crazy shit and, trends higher on the day after the news. Well, obviously that doesn't happen. And I take that off for a small loss of $22 altogether. But again, that was really just like a nonchalant trade that was more for like the hell of it to even see if it bounced back up. So anyways. So we lose $22 there on Disney today. So we covered AMD, Disney, Netflix. All right, SINA. Here is one of the trades where I made decent money on. I was going to trade this twice. Kind of hesitated a couple times. This was going to be one of my main watches in terms of earnings plays on the day, and then I didn't watch it when the market was opening. Ooh, wow, that looks pretty juicy for a short right now. Kind of want to short that. Are we going to do it? Connor, are you going to be a savage? Maybe. Let's recap the trade first. Anyways, so I didn't watch it at the open. Things come smacking down. And then it kind of did like this small intermediate pullback here. And I was still late to this. The entry I took was more of like a chase scalp trade. Really wasn't the best trade, but I seen some potential to make a little bit of money, and that's exactly what I did. I didn't hold it too long, and so, because ideally the entry point wasn't all that great. So anyways, we go down, right? We try to bounce. We put in a pretty solid green candle here, and then following candle is a big old red candle, which engulfs the previous green, right? If we zoom in on that, you'll see that this candle engulfs the previous green, which means that's a bearish engulfing setup, which means that the price would most likely decline. By the time I got to it, we were pretty much opening up on this candle. So I ended up getting short. It was just pretty much a quick scalp. I got short 2,000 shares at 35.31, took those shares off at 35.15, resulting in a quick $300 win. And then I was going to short it right here. It was either this candle or one of these candles. I was getting ready to short it here as we were breaking down, and it faded out pretty well. So I ended up going short 2,000 shares. and I was doing a market order, and the market makers weren't filling my order. They were purposely not filling my order as the price moved lower because they could see my order coming in, right? As a market maker, I'm coming in trying to short 2,000 shares. When I go to put in an order to short 2,000 shares, that means that the market maker is going to have to provide me that liquidity. And really, he knows that I'm trying to sell the stock. So if I'm trying to sell short, it's best for me to get the highest price possible to short, not the lowest price possible. But for a market maker, when you're shorting, it's best that you or he gives you the lowest price possible because then he makes more. So that's what they did. They kind of held back my order while they moved the price down in the stock, and then they tried to fill me, but I don't play those fucking games, so I canceled that order and they didn't get my order. Granted, I would have made money on it if I would have held it and it kept going down, but when it comes to trading, when I go to take an order and I push my order in, if there's any bit of hesitation, any kind of funkiness going on with that order getting filled when I know it's really just the market makers doing some shit, I'll try to cancel the order as best I can or as quick as I can without getting filled. Occasionally, I'll go in, I'll take a trade, they don't fill my order, they kind of hold it, move the price around the stock, and then by the time I go to cancel it, it's already really been filled, or by the time I go to cancel it, the order's already processing in the back. And so anyways, I was going to trade this again for a short, ended up not, resulting in a profit of $300. And this looks really good to short. I mean, the volume isn't super heavy, but this really does look like it's going to snap. The only thing that's keeping me from wanting to short this is we're still above low of day, which means we could get a down candle right to low of day and then pop back up and do this kind of ho-hum, chug-along movement for the day, which is boring, which we don't want. So, but this is good. If by the time this hasn't cracked below lows, and you watch this video, this might still be in somewhat of a decent setup. I'd be pretty surprised because by the time this is uploaded and you watched it, the time will be so long gone. I'd be surprised if you actually get something on that. I should put, I'm going to take AMD off, and I'm going to keep this SINA up for a second, and then we'll go back over here and look at some things. Okay. All right. Also traded WB on the day. So WB brought in $300. So we were watching this pretty much all morning. We're like, all right, do we want to short it? Do we want to short it? You know, it looked like a really nice kind of bear flag setup down, but you know, I've traded many of these earnings reports and I've seen setups like this and I've seen the movement of a stock and I've gotten really, really comfortable and good understanding of when they're probably not going to break down. So I was on the short side initially because the pattern in the formation was bearish. So it makes sense to be. So kind of watching bearish sentiment on that play, kind of watching bearish sentiment on that play until it stated otherwise, right? So then we have this perfect looking, movement about to break down, doesn't, buys up, squeezes, and then we kind of have this rolling kind of flag. So I get long here, 2,000 shares, just as we start breaking over the VWAP. 2,000 shares at 44.46, pops up to 44.63. I take off 1,500, then I sell 250 at 44.59, and another 250 at 44.57. And on stocks like this, you're not gonna. What I'm explaining to you is that this whole setup and this trade that I took, the reason it was in quick, out quick, is because I seen the potential for at least a move, but not potential for a monster rip. So that's primarily why I took that off very quickly. And whenever you get stocks like this on the day, they normally won't make crazy moves. I was playing the probability of it having a move, could have a crazy move, but more likely than not, it was going to be a quick small pop. And then you can see how it's traded for the rest of the day. It's pretty much just ho-hum garbage, not even fun. So anyways, result in a $306 win there. And then the one, I did take a trade today on Wix, which is an earnings report. So I wanted to go short, which I did go short, and I end up taking a loss on it pretty much immediately. And we do get this down move, which would have been nice. I mean, 300 shares at 128, you drop down, 5 points. That could have been a big win. And that was the problem is I sized in just too big on this stock with my account and how I normally trade. I sized in too big on this account, and the spread on the Wix stock today was so wide that I was pretty much going from like a break-even P&L to negative 300 P&L without the candle really even moving. And so if I did so happen to be wrong and somehow it kind of reversed and went like that, I could have easily taken a loss of like $1,200 really quickly. So the mistake here was just sizing in a 300 share position on a very, very big spready stock, which makes it a little bit harder to manage the trade and so on, which resulted in me taking basically just a quick loss of $282 to start the day. So I started off negative 282. Then I traded SINA, went back to positive. And then I think I traded WB after that, and then I traded AMD. And this SINA is really flirting with me to short it, and I might take a short trade here on this. See, look at that. See that low a day? Remember how I mapped out low a day? Oh shit, you can't see it. Never mind. Hold on, let me move this over to you. All right, so you guys remember how I so yeah, those are all the trades. All right, so all the trades on the day netted me a profit about $600. This SINA looks like it's getting ready to snap that low. But again, you remember how I showed you this red dotted line? That's right where we're at. It's 34.02. Arguably want to short it, but this is still the first attempt at the low a day in reality, which means it's most likely not going to break, but this is more trending and pushing into it, so it does have a higher probability of breaking. It's been a very bearish stock all day. I mean, let's double check the average true range. It's probably well above the average true range. Yeah, it's 184% above its average true range on the day, which means it's already moved quite a bit down. Then again, it's the earnings report day, so it's expected that it's going to move more than what it typically would move on a regular day. So for it to be 184% of its average true range does make sense, but can we expect more downside even on a good-looking setup? Right? So you guys see that. I mapped out that like basically 34 support. That was the low a day. You can already see the candles getting bought up. You're starting to go green on it. So it tells me that there are some buyers at that low a day 34 price still that are holding the stock up. And that's why generally you never try to long or you never try to short something on a first attempt touch at low a day or high a day, right? If this was high a day, that circle I just made and the stock ran all the way up like this, you never try to buy the breakout long on that attempt because it normally won't work. It'll pull back and then maybe set a higher low in and then it will go. So like this situation, right? Look at it. I'll draw it all out. That is first attempt at that low and it's holding. So if this kind of pops up, maybe fails, comes back down, be more likely to break a little bit later. All right, so might watch that for a move. We'll see. But at the end of the day, those are all the trades on the day. So hopefully you guys, oh, you guys couldn't see that one because I was moving it over there. Darn it. Excuse me. Let me basically repeat everything I just said. Okay, so you can see it's holding support here at 34, which is the low a day. And you can see that's the first attempt at low a day. And that's just it. You just generally don't try to short or go long on something when it's the first attempt at low a day. So if this is the low, right, and we kind of do all this trading, come up, come up, come up, then we come down into that 34 price, that is the first attempt, right? Low a day made, first try at breaking low a day, not breaking. And it's the same concept. I could show it to you probably like on AMD today. I'm sure it did it at some point. Yep, so here you go. Right, look, I missed the AMD trade because I was looking at SINA still, but either way, it's breaking up a little bit. So look at this one here, right? So this is AMD. That's high a day, okay? We go down, go all the way back up to high a day. That is your first attempt, fail. And you can, yeah, so yeah, it's first attempt, fail. I mean, that's just basically it. You can see it right there, fail. Then it kind of tries it again, fails, then we come back, right? Now, this attempt isn't first attempt, right? Because we tried here and we tried here. But this attempt at the high day break is the first attempt since that top. So this is a new top put in. Move down, move back up. First attempt to break that top, fail. Pull back, holds near the highs, better chance of breaking. Okay, so that's how you can alleviate buying tops, or when you're considering and thinking it might break out, well, look at how it's moved, how the tops are looking, so on and so forth. Anyways, that's all we have for you guys today. So another about 600 green. We're about 550 green on the day. So it's another green day in the books. I'll be all green this week. So if we can close out tomorrow green, we'll have a full green week, which would be just a bonus. So right now we're on a 4-day green streak, hoping to make that 5, and then 100 days green in a row would be fantastic. Could you imagine 100 days green in a row? Whew. I can. I'm about to do it. So anyways, thank you guys once again for tuning into the video. Hope you learned something new today on this video as always, and thumbs up the video. And again, see you guys in the next one.